I hope my people don't get me for this, but I think it's something that needs to be said. It's something that may have been said by others, but it's never been said by me. Hey everybody, welcome to Faithfully Ray, where I talk about my faith, I talk about family. Honestly, I'm just being Ray, faithfully. That's it. I did not plan to do a video today. However, I was talking or listening to one of my family members, and they inspired me to come and just kind of talk through my thoughts a bit. So I don't know, I'm not trying to be fancy. Like I said, this is kind of random. Can I just hold on, because it just seems so formal. Can I just, hold on. It's super formal right now. I don't know about you guys. I don't know. I feel like, yeah. Okay, so I want to talk about something that happened to me today, and I'm going to try and look in the right area of the camera. Again, I wasn't planning on doing this, so y'all trying to get comfortable. But I want to talk about something that happened today. I went to an event, and the event there were two presenters, and they were talking about, basically learning how to practice doing things that make you uncomfortable. And their main focus was about communication and public speaking. And that is something that I've kind of struggled with for, all of my life. I have struggled with public speaking. I am an introvert. And so it's always, I stumble over my words when I feel like, I'm on the spot, when I feel like a lot of people are looking at me, all eyes on me, all of that. So it's something it's always been a thing that I've had to practice. And I'm still practicing to this day. So I was at this event. The presenters were talking about public speaking and really just practicing and, giving good tips for families on how to support their kids. And they asked us to do an exercise, and they asked us to turn to our partner and to answer the question, have you ever been in a space where you felt like you couldn't use your voice or you couldn't speak up? And I turned to my neighbor, and she was so sweet. Honestly, she was so sweet. She was older than me. She was an African-American woman, and she just had all of this pride and sass and just all of this confidence that she was just radiating, right? And so she went first. It wasn't even a question. She's like, no, I've never been in a space where I had to hold my tongue. I've always been able to speak my mind and speak my truth because I was taught to this and that. And as I was listening to her, I'm going to be honest with you guys, I just thought, wow, that's amazing. But that really is not my story. And it was okay. And that was the thing. Me being an introvert, it was like, I should be okay with telling her that that's not my story. But I'm going to be honest with you. I was thinking of, can I be real? I was thinking of, the stereotypes that the society puts on us. Like being this Black woman and in executive leadership, you should not have any problem speaking to anybody. You should not have any problem sitting in and being in settings where you just feel like you can't use your voice. But that is not the case for a lot of people. And when it was my turn to speak, I had to speak my truth. And I told her, and that was the thing. I spoke my truth, but I was hesitant to tell her my whole truth. That makes sense? So I told her, I said, I have been in spaces where I felt like I couldn't really use my voice, where I felt like, I couldn't speak. And I have a background in communications. And I told her, I said, I've always been the one where if I couldn't tell you, I would write it. And writing was what saved the day for me. That's why I leaned into communication, because I was a good writer. I was a good writer. And people would tell me, well, you have a good voice. You should be on television and all of that. And I'm like, no, I don't want to be on camera. I don't want, I have stage fright and people don't even know that, right? So I told her, I said, if I couldn't speak, if I couldn't say what I wanted to say, I could always find that solace in being able to write my thoughts out. And I would speak my truth from pen to paper, right? And I'm in a place where I am forcing myself, and all through life, I told her, I'm in a space where I'm forcing myself to speak up and to speak what's on paper, to actually voice it. And it always is a transition for me. It's always a space where I have to really kind of psych myself out to do that. And it takes practice, and I'm an introvert, and it's just how it is. So she understood, but I could tell that her reaction was like, oh, okay. That's just how it is. But that is not even, that was the backstory, because that is not why I actually wanted to sit down. I wanted to sit down because I wanted to talk about the things and what I didn't mention to her. And what I didn't mention is that I've been in a lot of rooms where I felt like I couldn't say anything. And if I did, I had to be reserved about it. I had to say it a certain way or not say it at all. And I hope my people don't get me for this, but I think it's something that needs to be said. It's something that may have been said by others, but it's never been said by me. I absolutely love church. I love it. I absolutely love it. If anybody could tell you, I love church. I love going to church. I love the people. I love having church. I will go and have a good old time just by myself. I will do that. But growing up as a PK, as a pastor's kid, I can't help but to acknowledge there were spaces where I felt like I didn't have a voice, being a pastor's kid. And sometimes I get frustrated when I hear folks who grow up in the church or even attended church and they talk about this, and every time I even say it or hear it, it makes me cringe. Church hurt. Ugh. Church hurt is a real thing. But when that phrase started to get some wings, I felt like it was always one-sided, because we don't talk about the hurt really of church kids. It has always, from my experience, been a slight judgment in the tone, right? Not a tone of empathy. But it did make me think when they asked that question, and this is what I really wanted to share with her until I heard her reaction and her answer, and I just, discernment. I'm like, this is not a moment where you just kind of talk about your past, right? Not to that extent, not that deep, but I know that there are a lot of pastors' kids who feel that way. There was a time where people would say things in church, and as a pastor's kid, you were more reserved, right? We had to be reserved. We couldn't say anything. Um, whew, we will take a lot to the chin, a lot. Um, and I'm always very proud of the pastor's kids who they didn't let those words, those looks, those judgments get to them. They didn't allow the pressure, not just from their peers, but from older adults. They didn't allow that pressure to make them get into spaces where they had to prove themselves, prove who they are, prove that they're not perfect. Because I think, honestly, with a lot of PKs, that's really what it is. You see folks acting out because they've had to, all their lives, try to prove to you that they're human. We have spent a lot of our lives, a lot of time in our lives trying to prove that we're human. We're not perfect. And I always sympathize with pastors' children who ended up trying something just to prove that they were human, doing something that just to prove that they were human, and the consequences got to them. You know, I'm always sympathetic. You will never catch me laughing at somebody, or because folks really don't know what it's like being a pastor's kid until you, or if you're not one. Really, just if you're not one, if you've never been. I have people who, gosh, I have someone who actually told me there's a difference between being a preacher's kid and a pastor's kid. And I thought about it and I said, that's true. It really is true, because I had folks who I grew up around who were preachers' kids. And it's still, even the preacher's kids would judge the pastor's kid. And sometimes, you guys, it is a lonely place to be in, because you're overly reserved. You don't necessarily know who to trust or how to speak. I'm just being real. I'm talking it out. Sometimes you're in spaces where, yeah, you have friends, but you got to be mindful of who you hang around. You got to be mindful of who you call friends. And it can get lonely, because that is a lot of vetting, because there are a lot of folks, they'll smile in your face, but they're really trying to catch you. They're trying to prove that you're not perfect. They're trying to prove that you're not, God's gift to mankind, because that's how they have seen you. That's how people around them have, basically placed you on that pedestal, and then tried to compare that child or that preacher's kid to you, the pastor's kid. That's a lot of pressure to put on a child. It is a lot of pressure to put on a child. And some of us, pastors' kids, God will bless us with friends, and we don't have to worry about the judgment. We don't have to worry about all that. And then there are some of us, like me, it was a lot dealing and having to interact with people who just judged you left and right. So, to answer that question to my partner, yeah, being a pastor's kid, there were a lot of times where I felt like I couldn't speak. But the blessing is that I found my voice within that. And like I said, I put a lot of pen to paper. And I'm not saying I didn't have friends. No, I have them. But my crew was always very, very short, very, very, very small, not short, very small. Because this experience, it can take a toll on you if you really don't, put your faith in God and understand that He has you in a place for a reason. Early kids, PKs, have to figure out, well, God, why did you make me the child of this pastor? Why am I in that position? And what is it that you actually want me to do? It's a whole journey when it comes to PKs, and it honestly, unfortunately, we're wrestling with a lot. We're wrestling with a lot. So I have grace for a lot of people, a lot of people. And I'm so grateful that I'm not or no longer in a space of feeling like I can't speak in certain spaces. And honestly, guys, I'm the youngest in my family, so there was certain moments where I really didn't have to say anything. Can we be real? Like, I didn't have to say anything. But even with that, I had to find my voice. I had to find it. And I just wanted to come on here and just talk that out. And I haven't said everything that I wanted to really say, but I think I said enough. I hope that this message finds someone who is still looking to find their voice, right? And I hope this message finds you and gives you some encouragement, but also just helps you to see that you're not the only one, because there are folks who will say, I have never been in a space where I couldn't speak my mind. But it's okay to say that you have. It's okay to say that you have. And it's okay to say that you're still finding your voice. And it's okay to talk about, the different moments and the reasons why and the spaces that you've been in where you felt like you couldn't do that. So I just wanted to kind of talk about that, spaces where you feel like you couldn't really speak up and you didn't really have a voice. And I've had those moments. It made me think about those moments as a pastor's kid. And, we take a lot. We really, really take a lot of stuff. And some of us lash out because it's a lot of pressure. And some of us kind of just recede and retreat. Some of us stick it out. Some of us don't. We leave. And, but it's always about the bigger purpose. And so some of us stick around and figure out what the bigger purpose is, and why it is that God allowed us to be the children of pastors. And I really hope that we all get to a place where we seek God for the why. Does that make sense? Seek God for the why. Like, why did you make me this person? Why is it that you make me this person? Why is it that you place me in this household? Why is it that you place me in this church? Or why is it that you place me in this family? Why is it, I ain't tooting my own horn here. I am, shoot. Okay. Why is it that you made me the youngest child? I always tease my brothers and sisters, and I'm like, he made me the youngest child because I am the grand finale, okay? He wanted to make sure that the grand finale came through as the last person, okay? Anyway, it's a real thing to be in spaces where you feel like you can't really speak. And it's not necessarily that you can't speak at all, because me growing up in church, I was always, come on now, Bible study, gosh, we always had the youth day, youth services. We had moments where I spoke. It's not that I didn't speak, I spoke. But it's the things that I felt like I couldn't say. It's like I said, going back to dealing with folks, and they have passed these judgments, and they say certain things, and like the undertone in that is that you have an issue with me, or you're saying this with an attitude, but I would never, and it's not even I could never say that to you as a PK. Oh my gosh, because if I ever said that to you, oh, the entire city would be in an uproar. I cannot believe the pastor's kid said that, even though you said it to me, right? So it's things like that. And I don't know, it just, her question and the question in this session just took me to that. Like, I think this goes back to my childhood of, I have always been very particular, and I've always chosen my words wisely, and I've always chosen my battles, right? Which is wisdom. It's wisdom, but then it's wisdom, but it's also a moment in time, and a moment that speaks to the hardships of being a pastor's kid. But the blessing is that you learn early how to move and shake in different atmospheres, different areas, different scenarios. It also teaches you, like, you don't have to say everything. Because a lot of times, oh my gosh, this is only supposed to be a 10-minute video, guys. But you don't have to say everything. There are people who would be nice, nasty. Whew, nice, nasty. And then if I didn't say anything, God would go ahead and take care of that. And I didn't have to worry about it. Look, I'm just doing the Lord's work. For real, doing the Lord's work. I'm a teenager doing the Lord's work. I don't even feel like being here, okay? I'm a teenager. I don't even feel like being here, right? But sister so-and-so, mother so-and-so, what you just said, God's gonna get you. I don't even have to worry about that. I had to learn that early. Very frustrating. But time after time, I'm doing the Lord's work, and somebody comes and they're being nasty to me. And you don't even have to be a person in church. That's the thing. Growing up in school, anybody who just found out that you were, because, we weren't going around talking about, hey, I'm a pastor's kid. We weren't doing that. But it was just the way that you presented yourself. It wasn't even the way that, well, at that time, when I was a kid, it was, purely identifiable with what we wore, right? But even with that, though, I didn't have to. Even now, I don't have to wear anything. It's just the way that you present yourself. And with that, again, there are spaces where I feel like, yeah, I probably shouldn't say this to you, because I just feel like this room is probably not going to be able to survive what I have to say. And oftentimes it really is the case. That's why I think I mentioned earlier, it's also discernment. It's wisdom and it's discernment. And some things you can say, and some things it's like, it's not best to say it, because God has strengthened you to be able to take it, right? But that person that's dishing that out, that is it's a cliche, but it's a real saying. You can dish it, but you can't take it. And there are a lot of people who project, and there are a lot of people who dish, but if you say that back to them, don't get me started. Because that's one of the moments I had to ask, one of the scenarios where I've had to ask God for forgiveness, because I did have a moment where I dished it to somebody who could not take it. And it took that person a very long time. For me, when it came my way, I just moved on with the day. But when I gave them what they gave me, when I spoke my truth after they spoke theirs, I mean, it was at least a month. it was at least a month before they snapped out of it. I'm so serious. And this was in the church. This was in the church, and I felt like what I said wasn't that bad. It was just my truth. It's my observation. And I specifically said, after they came to me after service and they said, I just want you to know that what you said hurt my feelings. And I said, really? So what you told me first, you didn't think that hurt my feelings? No, I just want you to know I'm just saying that hurt my feelings and I didn't appreciate it. No, I was a kid at this point. So my thought was, you came to me and you started this, and it sounds like you want an apology, but you're not getting it. Let me tell you. Okay. Now this video is going left a bit, but then that actually speaks to what I'm saying though. It goes back to me talking to my partner about spaces where I feel like I can't say anything, because that person, I promise you, it was at least a month. They stopped talking to me for a month. I mean, they were in their feelings. Every time I looked over, they were in tears. It's just what I said actually hurt them, but it was interesting because I felt that what they shared with me was more hurtful than what I shared with them. And I thought, hey, we're friends, so it shouldn't be that big of a deal, right? We're just kind of being honest with our observation. But they were crushed. And eventually, we made amends. And literally, I really was very confused because I'm like, how did I hurt your feelings by saying that? But it happened. So again, that was a moment where I could have used the wisdom to just say, no, it's okay. You're good. And really the interesting thing is they asked for my honest opinion. Oh God. Okay. This is all, anyway, I'm bringing up old stuff, right? But I did want to speak to this because, again, as pastors' children, we go through a lot of judgment, and people, honestly, I think people really take our words to heart to a different level than anyone else. And it's really because they are looking at us as pastors' children, even though we're not the pastor. And it's frustrating because you have a lot of PKs who really battle with that. Like, that's my parents, that's not me. But we're in a very unique position. But all that to say, it's okay to say that I've been in spaces where I felt like I really couldn't speak my truth in its entirety. I felt like I had to reserve a lot of my opinion in those spaces because of who I was and who I represented in church. And all that to say is my partner who I was talking to, I felt like they probably wouldn't understand me when I said that. And so I'm sharing it with you. In hopes that you will share it with another PK who is actually dealing with that. Because a lot of times, guys, to be honest with you, a lot of PKs, some of us are doing well, but then there are some other PKs who are kind of struggling in this position and don't really want to see it as a position. And so I hope that this is some encouragement just for me to say, I see you and I understand. And there are some things and some moments and some situations where we really can't speak our truth in its entirety because God has put an additional gift on us. Not saying that we're perfect at all. No. But God has put us in a position where what we say can harm someone maybe a little bit more than it would if it was somebody who wasn't in this position. And I hope that I'm saying that where it's well received. And if it's not, that's okay. It's still my truth. It's my truth. It's your truth. Hey, it's okay. But I just wanted to let all the PKs know that you're seen. You're seen. And it's all right. All right, this is Faithfully Ray. I hope that I said something. I hope that I said something that was encouraging, inspirational, or it just at least let you know that there's somebody here who understands. All right, you guys have a good one, and I'll see you next time. Bye.